What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another live episode of the Touchdown with Doug Smith. I'm here today with my co-host Mike Williams, and Adrian Campbell should be joining us any second. Man, what a night to kick off the season. Initially, before this game started, I had the Lions winning 27-24. I knew it was going to be a nail biter, but not like this. A lot of mistakes. I got some stuff to say about both teams. Mike, I know you do too. But before we kick off this night, congratulations to the Detroit Lions. I mean, wow, what a game. What a game. Mike, what are your thoughts on tonight's game, man?
Man, it was definitely a nail biter. And I think it really showed the value that Chris Jones has to the Chiefs because there was key run stops that they didn't have. And obviously missing Travis Kelce was humongous. So shout out to Detroit because Detroit in the past would have found a way to blew that game. Their defense played very well when it mattered. Their offense made enough plays, real physical running. So definitely a fantastic game, man. And I'm excited for Detroit fans, especially me being a Broncos fan and hating the Chiefs.
Yeah, dude, it was nuts. It was nuts, man. Well, look, man, congratulations to the Chiefs for winning the Super Bowl. At one point in time, I was like, man, the Chiefs got this, man, because Detroit was playing scared. They were playing scared. But what happened was, the Chiefs, they took the foot off the pedal. And then there was that Brian Branch pick six. Boom, that happened. That tied the game. And then they got another touchdown with David Montgomery. And before you know it, they end up winning this game 21-20. And even at the end there, I mean, it was like they're just kind of playing scary ball a little bit, man. And happy, good thing for them. They got that first down at the end. But man, what a game. A couple of things. I took a few notes on tonight's game. So before tonight, what does this game symbolize if you're a Detroit Lions fan, right? For Detroit, it's very much so, you made all these moves, but we can't make any more excuses for Dan Campbell. After this season we're on now, there's no more excuses for Dan Campbell. He needs to go out there and win this game. It's not only going to set the tone for the rest of the season. You have a bunch of young rookies on this team. You have was it Jameson Williamson or something like that?
Jameson Williams is missing, yeah.
He already don't want to be there. We all know it. It's stupid, immensely talented, but he already don't want to be there. Then you have Reynolds, who's on light it up. Amon-Ra St. Brown, and then they got the receiver that came back from the Giants or from the Jaguars, I believe it was. So they have a squad. They have receivers. They have running backs. They have everything they need to make it a deep run into the playoffs. So this game symbolizes so much. Mike, what are some things you notice about the rookies tonight?
Yeah, man, it's like you were reading my mind. That was one of the biggest things that stood out to me is all the rookies made plays that were phenomenal. I mean, Jack Campbell with that pass breakup on that second down, and then Brian Branch the next play with that pick six. Jahmyr Gibbs hitting the edge. Dude is so fast. I mean, he was so fast he couldn't stop and ran out of bounds. But I mean,
he was nasty.
I feel like they had a hell of a draft. And last year we saw the Lions offense be spread it out. Jared Goff, they ran the ball well, and obviously everything goes off of their play action. Their run has to get established, and I feel like adding Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery, obviously they're all back. Jamal was a beast, right, and touchdown machine last year, but it looks like David Montgomery, Jahmyr Gibbs is a.
Mike, can I cut in real quick? I want to ask you a question, just real quick. What do you think about Sam Laporta? Because damn, he looked good tonight, man.
I liked them a lot because tight ends, it normally takes a second to really transition to blocking the way that you would. Iowa obviously has a reputation of tight ends. They actually traded away a tight end that went to Iowa and then drafted another Iowa tight end. But he came in, man, and blocked very, very well. His hands are phenomenal. And again, we were doing our pre-draft coverage, and we just talked about how deep this tight end class. He's at the top of the second round and showing how deep it is. Because that dude made plays too, man. I mean, like everybody made plays. CJ, GJ obviously was one of the biggest pickups for their entire offseason, and how his attitude was for this defense, like absolutely showed up today.
Oh, yeah. I want to stop just real quick, guys. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome the co-host, Adrian Soup Campbell. What's up, big dog?
Look at that background.
Badass background, sir. Badass.
Fam is in the building now. That's what I'm talking about.
Hey, real quick, man, we got a nice little audience, man. We've had about 6 to 8 people in the audience, man. So everybody, if you're new to the channel, we cover the whole entire NFL. But tonight, we showing love to the Detroit Lions, baby. Be sure to smash that subscribe button as well, too. We do NFL draft, pre-draft coverage, and we do live shows and all kinds of really dope NFL content. So be sure to smash that subscribe button. Adrian, before you came into the show, we were talking about Sam Laporta. There was a play. And he looked like Superman. He was blocking. Even that last Jahmyr Gibbs run, he was out there throwing his body on, and he has kind of a slender build. What a tough, I don't know,
man. Let me tell you,
he's made out of brick.
Let me tell you something.
Talk to me, man. DM me.
If y'all was ever for a single second doubting Brad Mahomes as the general manager, I'm telling you, I miss this guy in LA. Like I miss oxygen every single day. I'm telling you. What a fleece by the Detroit Lions to offload TJ Hawkinson to the Vikings, who they just paid a criminal amount of money, and he's not even in the same stratosphere as Kittle, Kelsey, the Darren Wallers of the world, whoever you want to insert as your third tight end. And they get Sam Laporta, who is a perfect replacement. And I think an upgrade over the production that Hawkinson was giving them. I love the Sam Laporta pickup. I'm so happy for the Detroit Lions. Some dogs, some absolute dogs, and it wasn't a good game.
Sam Laporta, Brian Branch, Jahmyr Gibbs,
Jack Campbell.
Thank you, sir. That I have COVID-19 right now, and I still had to do a damn show. I usually talk so sexy like I am now. I don't have this deeper voice. But these damn Detroit Lions, fam, they could win a Super Bowl. For all 12 people in the audience, thank you for tuning in. Smash that subscribe button.
I'm not willing to start talking Super Bowl because it's just
early. It's
just week one, and not to mention, and I love the Detroit Lions. I love what Dan Campbell's been building. I think this team is finally, this is the season where they're going to make a leap as a team. Mm-hmm. However, there's a lot of things that they had working in their favor tonight. And I don't get me wrong, these things they can't control, right? It's not their fault that Travis Kelce ain't a go. It's not their fault that Chris Jones isn't under contract. But to say that those weren't two factors in the game, and I would venture to say Travis Kelce being more of a factor not being in this game than there. Also, there was a lot of things, and don't get me wrong, this happens to every team. So don't get me that I'm downplaying what Detroit did tonight, because they still went into Arrowhead, which is extremely hard, on prime time, and came out with the W. So I don't want to underscore anything that these guys did tonight. But the missing two of their best players on the roster for tonight's game is a big deal. Even more a big deal than that, let me tell you who the player of the game was for the Detroit Lions. He wasn't even wearing the Detroit jersey. Kadarius Toney.
Can we talk about him?
His hands specifically deserve the game ball for Detroit.
3 drop passes. 3.
And before y'all like,
I'm a Gator fan too, man.
They weren't perfect passes by Mahomes. You're right, they're not perfect passes by Mahomes. But I'm sorry, Mike, you've played wide receiver, granted not at the NFL or collegiate level, but you know the rules, man. If it hits you in your hands, you got to hold on to the ball. And if you got the gloves, what are you wearing them for?
Yeah, man. And before I respond to that, I want to say shout out to Mel. I saw him hop on here. Shout out to Melvin, man. You see him in the chat.
Hey, King, I saw you earlier.
Good to see you, bro.
Shout out to Moya TV too, man. Moya TV, fun fact, ex-professional football player in Japan. Awesome story. Subscribe to his channel. Great guy.
Absolutely. And
grew up with him.
Man, crazy that Kadarius Toney looked like he came out there with oven mitts that had anti-stickum on them. It was like it was reverse stickum. Like you just dropped them, and then by the end of the game, he had a route that could have put them in field goal position. And Patrick Mahomes threw a dart right through his hands, man, and his confidence was shaking. He had a cross route in the fourth quarter on third down. At the beginning of the fourth quarter on third down, and obviously there's somebody ahead of him, but it literally hits him in his hands. He didn't look confident with that, man. So it was just everybody can say like the Chiefs can do whatever they want. They shipped out Tyreek Hill and they still want, like, here's the difference, right? Even with Tom Brady, people said the same thing with Tom Brady, but Tom Brady's consistent was Gronk. Patrick Mahomes consistent was Kelsey's. So the random receiver, a bunch of number 2s, number 3s works out when you got the greatest tight end ever and that greatest tight end ever conversation. But like clearly tonight, you saw the value of him, and in my opinion, you clearly saw the value tonight of Chris Jones because there's runs and there was pass plays that he absolutely would have stopped. I think that man has an argument to get paid whatever the Chiefs need to pay him.
So, Mike, you and I talked during halftime about that, and I'm not saying he's worth less, right? I think he's based off of the body of work that he's put together, right? I think that he's entitled to the money that he's asking for. However, I'm gonna go the other way a little bit. I do think that would this defense have been better? Do they make those stops, especially on the short yardage at the end of the game, right? Those gotta have it yards if Chris Jones is there. I 100% believe it. But the thing that I think is the difference is Nick Bolton in year 3 is looking crazy. Nick Bolton is absolutely crazy in year 3. If this is the trajectory that he's going on, right? Like it's he's the thing that jumped out to me on this Kansas City defense all night. And that with the absence of Chris Jones, Nick Bolton stepped up in a big way. He was a problem. That clinic that he put on in the Super Bowl, it looks like he just kind of picked up where they left off in February. He said, I'm going to take it from here. He could have a monster season. I think his emergence, it depreciates the value of Chris Jones on this team. I'm not saying to the point where he's not valuable at all. I would never, ever say that because you obviously need an interior presence. And if you don't believe me, just look at the other team that was on the field tonight. I think Detroit, the defensive pass rush coming off the edge for Detroit was about as good as it could be. Aiden Hutchinson was playing with both arms tied behind his back all night because Jawan Taylor is lined up on Patrick Mahomes' hip. They might as well been running split backs back there with Jawan Taylor in the backfield. And if he wasn't back there, Buddy was sitting there doing the Harlem Shake. Now, I played on the offensive line. Let me tell you, you can't wiggle your legs and do all of that stuff. Like you can't have restless leg syndrome, brother. That's a flag every time. Now, shout out to the refs because they finally got him for a egregious false start.
There were random penalties
egregious, but they finally got him at the end of the game with the game on the line. But it's like, dog, my man Hutch is out there doing everything that he could possibly do to end up in Mahomes' lap, and y'all just letting Jawan Taylor out there do the stanky leg before the ball snap. Like, what is happening?
Yo,
and Jeff Barber. This is what I want to talk about.
Jeff? How you doing, man?
Jeff, man. I was actually very disappointed with the offense. Don't want to take anything away from that Chiefs defense, but I really thought that tonight we were going to see this offense that wanted to stretch the field a little bit more. And I know that's kind of hard to do without Jamo in there, right? Without Jameson Williams in there. I know that's clearly an element of their game that was lacking. Yeah. And Jahmyr Gibbs, impressive tonight. But when your OC, Ben Johnson, says, oh, we're going to use Jahmyr Gibbs in a way that I don't think anybody's anticipating. You damn right you did, Ben Johnson, because I didn't anticipate him being on the bench as much as he is. So that's a creative use of Jahmyr Gibbs, who came out on fire.
Hey, Jeff, I feel it, man, where you're saying like you feel like they lost the game more than you wanted, but I disagree because every game isn't going to be a blowout. Every game isn't going to be a blowout. And the Detroit Lions tonight, in my opinion, show that they can win a tight game, right? And you look at and I'm going to agree with every point you said about Nick Bolton. Here's the difference. How much there is no way possible the Lions would have won tonight with Chris Jones there and Bolton playing how he was playing, because I believe they could have had some of those goal line stops. I believe that Montgomery wouldn't have been running. Montgomery hit some of these like nice little hot backs and first down like Chris Jones there. That's not happening. Mm-hmm. And the Detroit Lions, what they did show today, though, is that most of their starters didn't play in the preseason. So this was essentially their preseason. Jared Goff looked right after the first drive, but I feel like they're only going to go up from here. And the Broncos, my favorite team, averaged like 18 points a game for a while. If we scored 20 points a game, we would have had some more 10-win seasons the last few years. Like, for this to be the bad game that they had week one after not really playing in the preseason, I thought it was a hell of a game, and they showed a lot of grit.
Takeaway for the Lions, that offensive line is as advertised.
Filthy.
They were fantastic.
It's as advertised.
Yeah. Shout out to Moya TV, says, I kind of agree, but I thought the Lions had some bad calls, like not declining that holding call in the second quarter. Yeah, there was some. It was interesting because it was mostly a clean game, right? And then we come to third quarter, starts to be a little more penalties. In the fourth quarter, it was like, whoa, what has happened? These teams are not playing like they should. One thing I want to take and point out as well too is that, look, if these are the areas of opportunity that the Detroit Lions have to work on, this is a great building point off of this victory. Had Mr. Tony caught those passes, could this have been a different outcome? Yes,
100%.
perhaps. Definitely, for sure. But I feel like they were playing almost hero ball when necessary, right? When they're like, oh, it's 2nd and 20, you know, and then there were times like after that fumble, right? And then there were times where like they were almost playing scared, like, man, we're not meant to be in this position. And it's frustrating. So I hope this team continues, these Detroit Lions, I mean, continue to take and find who the hell they are. You know what I mean? Because they have the running backs, they have the O-line, they have a quarterback, a seasoned Super Bowl contending quarterback, right? This can be done. But is Dan Campbell, my question to you guys, is Dan Campbell going to be Moses and take the great people of Detroit Lions Nation to their promised land?
My personal opinion is I made a prediction in our offseason that is going to stick, and that is that the Detroit Lions will win that division, NFC North.
Yep.
And they look today like they're going to do that. Now, when you get in the playoffs, that's going to be one of those teams that nobody wants to play because, again, they have arguably the best offensive line in the NFL. If they're not number one, they're in the top.
I think they're rated number 4.
Allegedly, I would take that line over plenty of. The only line I think that's in that conversation with them is Philadelphia, in my opinion. But saying that to say that's a team that you know they're going to be able to run the ball. They're going to be able to run that play action well. It looks like the rookies that the first 4 picks they drafted, they hit on. By the end of the season, those dudes are going to be balling. That's going to be a team that if they progress, this was their floor potentially. And there was a whole bunch of miscues and missteps, and their offense didn't really get rolling like they wanted it to. And if this was a quote-unquote bad game and they still eked out a 1-point victory, by the time the playoffs come around, there's not going to be many teams that want to see them in the playoffs.
This is true.
Absolutely.
And like I said, to your question, is Dan Campbell the guy to take them to the promised land? I think he's the best person to do it, but it's very hard to put a stamp on this team and say that he's the guy to do it. And we all understand how difficult it is to win a Super Bowl in the NFL. Like it's an impossible task. And if you're in the NFC right now, the AFC is an absolute gauntlet. So whoever's representing that division in the Super Bowl is going to be an absolute dog, right? Like
be like Popeyes. It's going to be well seasoned, baby.
When I think of the AFC, like, and this is in no particular order, right? But when I think of the AFC, like the 3 teams that I think 100% have a chance at the Super Bowl for the last 3 years, right now, it's the Chiefs, the Bills, and the Bengals, right? And what do all 3 of those have in common? I think those are the top 3 quarterbacks in the NFL right now.
Absolutely.
And they all got a defense that is pretty nasty. They've got weapons galore on offense. Patrick Mahomes less so, right? But Travis Kelce is worth about 2 when he's healthy, right? He's worth about 2 weapons. Yeah. So I'm just saying, man, like I'm hype on this Detroit Lions team. I'm excited for them. I'm happy for that team. I'm happy for the city of Detroit. I'm happy for their fans. They just sold out Ford Field. They created a waiting list for the season ticket holders for the first time in the history of the organization. We're talking about this is a team that's had Barry Sanders and Megatron, right? And this is the first time that they've created a waiting list for the season tickets. Like, I think everybody, if you're a fan of football, forget being a fan of the Detroit Lions, right? If you're a fan of football, I think the excitement around the Detroit Lions is palpable, and it's warranted. I think this team is for real. Granted, there's a lot of we can start really nitpicking and picking apart a lot of stuff, and I think the biggest deterrent to them that's going to be in their way of winning everything is going to be Jared Goff.
Yeah,
and
Goff man himself. Boom, baby.
And I have nothing against Jared, right? Like he was good for us when we needed him, when we made that move back to LA. He just wasn't in line with where the rest of the team was at in terms of our window. That's why he's in Detroit right now. I don't think he's a terrible quarterback. But that team will go as he goes. He needs to keep going on an upward trajectory, and he needs to play like the Goff that he was the last 7 weeks of the season. That's how he has to play for these next 17 weeks if they want to have a real shot at this thing.
Another thing I want to bring up, and I want to open this up to the audience as well as you, Mike and Adrian. Let's talk about that potential 1-2 combination of David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs. Smash and dash. I mean, they were obviously, I want to see a lot more Jahmyr Gibbs. I'm going to be honest with you. Those are my thoughts because the runs I did see him play, he looked magnificent, right? But could you see this blossoming into the NFL's next best backfield?
I think they have a real chance, and I two things. Jared Goff, in my mind, made it to a Super Bowl and lost again, but he made it to a Super Bowl. And then last year, how his time in Detroit, he's shown that he with playmakers around him can make plays. And I think Jared Goff is a quarterback. If Brad Johnson can win a Super Bowl, Jared Goff is significantly better than that. When you're trying to have a Jared Goff throw, a vertical offense and all this other stuff, of course he's not going to look like the quarterback that you want him to be. But I think that back to your point, Doug, bring it in David Montgomery or Jahmyr Gibbs, and then when Jameson Williams gets back and they're having Sam Laporta, they put enough and obviously Amon-Ra St. Brown, who's an absolute dog. That
the sun god
is an absolute change mover and a chain mover rather. I think they set that team up for success, and they're not going to be a team that's going to blow many teams out. Their defense is much improved over last year. It looks like first week. We'll see as it goes forward. But having Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery, you get a lead, and I think they dominated the time of possession tonight. If I'm correct,
they chewed clock tonight.
They dominated the time of possession. So that lets you know that if those guys get a lead, that defense or GJ was one of the most underrated signings in the entire offseason, in my opinion. And his attitude today, you saw he was getting under the Chiefs players' skin. They were penalties. He caused penalties, and then you have David Montgomery run down their throat, and then they start bracing for that, and Jahmyr Gibbs is running by him. That's going to be a tough thing to watch. And Aiden Hutchinson, when he gets a referee crew who's not letting Jawan Taylor start like he's a fullback and then jump off sides all the time, I think is going to be an absolute beast because he was in Patrick Mahomes' lap often with all that adversity he was facing. So I think the Lions' running game looks like it's going to be a top 5, top 10 running team for sure. And that's going to set them up to have all kinds of success because their play action worked damn near every time they ran it today.
So, and Doug, to answer your question, I do think that they're going to be the next great duo. I think it's one dependent upon can David Montgomery stay healthy. We've seen what his time in Detroit was. It's marred by a lot of injuries and stuff. If he's all the way back and he's healthy running behind that line, it is. Jahmyr Gibbs, super impressive to me. I didn't watch a whole lot of Bama because I'm not a Bama fan, but like you're going to see him on national TV if you watch, right? The one thing that I didn't know, because once again, this is on me, I don't watch Bama. I knew he was fast. Yeah. I did not expect him to be as physical as he was tonight. This buddy was, even though he was running out, he was not shying away from contact. And he does not go down at first blush, and he has great contact balance. There was that last run that he had to the outside on the strong side. He gets hit, and he gets hit early. And the backer runs and he spins and he can feel the guy on his back, and he has enough awareness to realize, oh, I don't have to fall backwards. And he uprights himself, comes out and keeps running. And I mean, just a dog. He's not scared. He's not running towards the boundary at all. He wants the physicality. He wants the contact. If he can maintain that angry style of running with his speed, he should have had the first touchdown in the game for the record. But I think his legs just got too far out from under him because he hit that corner and he saw
that was his
corner.
He was gone, bro.
Like the corner was wide open and he literally it looked like what Fred Flintstone when he's like they do that.
That's what I'm saying. He had the Sonic the Hedgehog legs going and he just fell out
100% and he slipped because that would have done that as well. And then something that Moya just said is the Lions rushing game looked good, but how good
that was to Mike's
point. What's up, Dom?
To Mike's point, Moya, to Mike's point, right? That's where you miss Chris Jones.
Chris Jones is the second best D tackle in the NFL, in my opinion. I still think
Aaron
Donald's number one. A lot of people are saying he overtook him. Also, I don't believe that yet until I see it.
Yeah.
But phenomenal pass rusher, elite run defender, and they absolutely missed that tonight. So I think the Lions, the reality is Doug, we talk about this every offseason. is how important having a strong offensive line is. Their offensive line is a problem. That's the offensive line that will punch you straight in the mouth. They will punch you straight in the mouth. And then David Montgomery, after you get punched in the mouth, you look down, gonna run through your face, right?
Yeah.
So and then Montgomery, or not Montgomery, but Jahmyr Gibbs, that pick, people were like, oh, they picked him too high. The picks that they made fit the team that they have, and they're gonna absolutely ball out. And I think by the end of the year, Jack Campbell is gonna have potential because they're still easing him in the game on the defensively.
Jack
he looks like he looks like he's gonna have potential to be in the conversation for defensive rookie of the year.
Bro, I keep telling you.
He's 6'5", guys. He is 6'5". Hey, real quick, I just want to take a quick moment, guys. If you're new to the channel, thank you guys for tuning in. We've had a really big audience tonight. Just want to take 5 seconds to tell you to smash that subscribe button. We cover all 32 NFL teams, and we're going to continue to do so and kick ass at doing it, man. So comment below your thoughts on tonight's game. Adrian, what were you about to say?
I can't express it enough, man. Like, what a gift Brad Holmes has been to this organization since he got there. Look at the drafts that he has put together since taking over the GM for the Detroit Lions. Like, honestly, y'all really have not missed in Detroit with Brad Holmes engineering this thing. And the scary part is, look how young the Detroit Lions are, right? Sure, they filled in some key pieces with some veterans, right? But with the way that they continue to draft and the war chest that Brad Holmes continues to accumulate, those veteran pieces are going to be replaced by what I can only imagine are going to be some day one starters when they are finally ready to move off of Jared Goff. And we don't know what they have in Hendon Hooker, right? Like, we don't know. That Hendon Hooker could be a viable starter. We just don't know. But when they are truly ready, this team is going to be just disgusting around whatever quarterback is behind that. You're going to have a young offensive line that is entering the prime of their careers. You're going to have a dominant running back, probably at least 2 dominant receivers. I'm counting on Jameson Williams being a true one. If he can act like he has an NFL paycheck and stop gambling, he'll be around for a long time.
Yeah.
Amon-Ra is going to be around for a long time. Aiden Hutchinson is going to be a premier rusher in this league. I think the corner, I just lost his name, the guy that got the pick 6 tonight. I think Brian Branch, he can continue to be a problem for years to come. Jack Campbell, I'm in alignment with you, Mike. I really like Jack Campbell. I wanted him in LA. I thought he was going to be good. They have to find somebody on the interior of that defense to help out the pressure that they're getting from the outside. But man, if there's a guy that is equipped to do it, that's going to make it happen, I'm telling you, this boy Brad Holmes is a problem in Detroit. Y'all, you don't understand what a gift you have. I weep every day because he's not in LA with us anymore.
The thing I like the most about this Lions team is they absolutely match the city of Detroit, and they absolutely match their head coach's attitude, right? That team plays with attitude. They play disciplined football. There wasn't a penalty by the Lions until the second quarter, like late in the second quarter. And I think it was kind of a questionable penalty, that first one. And the rest swallowed their whistle on Jawan Taylor. We've said that like a million times a day. But Brad Holmes absolutely has been killing the drafts, man. And like, I feel like Jared Goff has a place. Like, the thing that's hard for quarterbacks, the thing that's hard for players in general is when they don't feel like they're wanted, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're creating a culture where Jared Goff feels wanted. They're building an offense around him with their Johnson's his last name, their coordinator. I think his name might be Brad Johnson. Offensive coordinator who turned down
Ben Johnson,
who turned down head coaching interviews so he could come back and help finish what they have, and that tells you about the culture that they have. And then I feel like that team has a lot to play for, man. And Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell are putting together a team that matches that city. It's going to be tough. They're going to be able to travel, and that team is going to be filthy in the playoffs. That's not going to be a team that you're going to want to play in the playoffs and get your mouth ran through as long as they stay healthy.
And by the way, like, something that is underrated that I don't think enough people are talking about is the weather, right? Detroit is a cold weather town, and this is September football.
You gotta want to be there pretty much.
And when they win the division, right? When they win the division, do not let these guys mess around and end up being, because I don't think they're going to be the 1 seed. Don't let them mess around and be the 2 seed, right? And you have to come to Detroit in January You do not want to come to Detroit and play this tough physical team in January. You don't want to do it. There's only one other team in the NFC that I think could go to Detroit in January and go toe to toe for them with the physicality.
Philly.
Huh? So make that 2. Give me Philly and give me San Francisco, because both of those teams are just built to be nasty.
Yeah.
Both of them are built to be nasty. But everybody else, beware. You don't want to be in Detroit in January.
Yeah, absolutely not. And you know what's dope is that people are I want to, there's the next topic I want to talk about. Dan Campbell's proven that he is not a gimmick. We started to see that in the midpoint of last year when they started winning some games. And for them to start off this year, and again, this was an ugly game. There was a lot of mistakes. I want to acknowledge.
It's week 1, though.
It's week 1. But what I'm saying is, like, there was a lot of mistakes. They played timid ball. They started playing hero ball, then back to timid ball. And, you know, so they need to find their identity. That's something Detroit needs to work on, especially on the offensive side of the ball. But you had the guys, Jack Campbell, Aiden Hutchinson, Brian Branch, these guys, and those are like the rookies. The rookies came to play, and they were playing like veterans. That happens, and a big part of that is Dan Campbell. And Dan Campbell proving that he's not a gimmick, but also he gets great people around him, you know, like the Brad Holmes that we were just talking about, who came over from the Los Angeles Rams, right? There's people who are truly bought in, and that's the makings of a championship team. I'm not saying they're going to win the Super Bowl this year. I still have a lot to see from this Detroit Lions team, but man, what a night it was.
And look, I know there's probably some people that's out there that's watching this like, oh, y'all not talking about the Chiefs enough. I don't know about y'all, but I'm not in the habit of talking about losers. That's just what it is. Okay, they've done enough. They've done enough winning. We're going to end up talking about them.
Yeah.
But you know, I just really want to celebrate the Detroit Lions and what they've done, because this is a team a year ago that this is a game that they absolutely lose. Like this one possession, one score game. This is something that they just find a way. They just find a way to fumble it away. Granted, yes, sack. I know Ford Field isn't in the elements. I'm still telling you, you don't want to be nobody wants to be in Detroit. It's not comfortable.
That's a different kind of cold.
It's not comfortable. You're right. It's not outside. I'm aware it's not outside. You still don't want to be in Detroit in January.
They gotta go. They gotta come from outside to go inside.
Yeah. You just don't. You just don't want to be. You don't want to be in Detroit. And I don't think the people that live in Detroit want to be in Detroit in January. Maybe they do. That's a different type of person up there. I'm not them. I had to get away from Colorado because it was too cold for me, so I had to come get some more heat. But
you'll be back.
It's too damn hot in Texas. I live out here, man. I can't wait to leave my house and enjoy it again.
Let me tell you something. Shout out to this team. I really think they have the makings to when Mike put it on, and I haven't been on the show with Mike in a minute, so I'm happy that we could finally make it happen. But
yes, sir.
Apparently we've done the same thing. We both predicted the Lions to win that division. And I think tonight shows that they're gonna be a problem for anybody that they go against this year. You're not just this isn't the same old Lions that are gonna make a bunch of mistakes and they're gonna do something stupid to give the game away at the last second. I do think that Ben Johnson needs to, and it's the first game jitters, right? I think this is the dress rehearsal for the first team offense and everything like that, because they don't really play in the preseason anymore. But I think Ben Johnson, you know what you're working with. I get it. Granted, your team is incomplete without your number one over the top and Williamson with his suspension. But I would like to see him get a little bit more aggressive down the stretch when you got those leads. I was glad to see, though. I was glad to see in some of these short yardage instances that they were willing to take the risk and say, hey, we got to go for it. And, with the game on the line, saying, no, we're not going to punt it. I'm not giving this ball back to Patrick Mahomes. We're going to put it all on. We're going to leave it all on the field right now. We're going to go and grab these 2 yards, because y'all know Mahomes is the king of something stupid happening, right? Like you can't give this man any kind of time, because he will find a way to make you pay for it. CJ Gardner-Johnson, I liked him tonight. He absolutely let a touchdown go. That was absolutely his fault.
Yeah, he had the reality is the thing that's like baffling to me for the Chiefs is I think we could probably say universally and probably universally NFL fans, you give Patrick Mahomes 3 timeouts and 3 minutes left, and you're like, shit, man, like this game ain't over.
That's worth 2-3 touchdowns.
Yeah. I mean, that man, like,
you saw what happened when he played the Bills, man. That's all I'm gonna say.
He makes plays, but the difference again is Travis Kelce not being there. And Doug, I wanted to say, Rashee Rice, man, I think they should have figured out a way to get him involved more because that dude has very strong hands, very strong hands. He was sitting down in those zones pretty nicely. A lot of times you see, and there was routes you were watching, I hope y'all saw it, like where somebody would run, like Kadarius Toney's a perfect example, where he wasn't sitting down in the zone. He was just running himself out of, being open, probably because he was scared he was going to drop the ball. But Rashee Rice as a rookie, like, was just really sitting down in those zones. Strong hands, man, was making plays. So I feel like that's the guy in that offense that they could develop to be like a juiced up Juju Smith-Schuster. Juju Smith-Schuster is not a number one receiver, but I feel like Rashee Rice could be. I feel like he could be a number one receiver as he develops.
Well, and Travis Kelce called that out in the offseason. Travis Kelce really feels that they got to steal in Rashee Rice and that he could be the next big thing down there in KC. And based off of what I saw tonight, and you know what's great about these rookie wideouts or just rookie players in general, for all the inexperience that they have, is they don't quite know what not to do yet. So they play with a certain level of fearlessness, sometimes to their detriment, right? But you see a player like Rashee Rice who's just willing to go out there and stick their face in stuff and make stuff happen. So I'm very happy with that. Something else that I want to talk about briefly, even though he didn't really have like a significant game, I just wanted to acknowledge that seeing Justin Ross back on the football field after that injury, he had the end at Clemson and then going on IR all of last year. That's a guy that I really thought would take off in the league, and I hope that he can find his footing in Kansas City because I definitely think there's opportunities on this roster at the wide receiver position for him to go occupy one of them spots, especially if Kadarius Toney decided that his hands don't work anymore. Justin Ross should absolutely be competing for a spot on this team, but I think the young rook is Rice he's going to make a case for why he needs to be in this starting lineup. So yeah, shout out to him for making it back to the field.
You're muted, Doug.
Yeah. Well, he's got his mic mute. You need to tap it, brother.
Oh, sorry. Shout out to Sax Man Jay Will. Appreciate you, Adrian. He says, I'm just glad the Lions won. That will help my Fins later in the season against the Chiefs. Man, when you said that, I took off my Tampa hat, man. I was like, hey, man, y'all know. But we cover the whole NFL, man.
Hey, Doug, the only reason I don't got a hat is because his hair got as vicious. Why have you had one of my Broncos hats on?
You got the right
waves hair out today. I do want to go on a little bit of a rant if you don't mind, Doug.
Go ahead.
Yeah, do you think?
All right, so the Chiefs are going to have a problem because their tackles are atrocious. Now, I'm talking to you, Chiefs fans, and I'm talking to you, front office of the Chiefs. Y'all have made plenty of your moves, and y'all have done a bunch of stuff. But the thing that's crazy is you had a different set of starting tackles the last 4 years in a row. They have not been able to nail down that tackle position, and they've still been able to win. Orlando Brown, Zeus Jr., was a beast. There is no reason that he should be in Baltimore right now and not in for the Chiefs, especially for what he signed for, because they signed Jawan Taylor and them about as much money as Orlando Brown signed for, and he's significantly younger and he's significantly better. So I don't know if he was doing something off the field, whatever the case may be. I don't know what it was. We won't make stuff up. But their line looks worse right now. No, again, their center, their guards, we give those dudes props, but their tackles are absolute hot dog water, right? Donovan Smith is old, was one of the most penalized tackles in Tampa Bay last year. And then they say, you know what we should do? Grab him. Grab the most penalized tackle that's old and would not pay Orlando Brown Jr. And then the second thing is this whole everybody Kadarius Toney looked like he got paid. I think Kadarius Toney thought fantasy football worked that you get 3 points for every drop. Because if this man would have got points for drops in fantasy football,
they're like 12, bro.
You would have had 15 points.
Man, let me tell you right now, what I saw from Kadarius Toney, he looked like he taking a play out of Kenny Galladay's book from last season. He said, let me just go ahead and collect this here check.
Yeah. Exactly. So, guys, real quick, before we move on to our last topic of the day, I just want to thank everybody so much for tuning into this live show. Typically, for those who don't know this, because this is the first game of season, so I got laid down the law. We usually do these live shows, usually about 2 to 4 of them a week. And then we do, it's a boutique channel, right? So we kind of cover the whole NFL. And so we have random stories, random pre-recorded episodes. And then January through April, guys, even some people who are on these teams, we had a guy from the Lions on this show. We had two guys from the Chiefs on this show, right? So, we do live interviews on this show. So be subscribed. Those do take and come January between April towards the end of the off season, and it's a lot of pre-draft stuff. But be sure you guys subscribe. Last topic of tonight, okay? And it says here, oh no, that's not it. Wrong one. Here we go. Did both KC and Detroit have bad game plans? Be sure to smash that subscribe button. I'm gonna open up the floor. Mike, take it away first.
Yeah, man. I think the Chiefs did not. I think they played relatively well because the reality is I can't even say Patrick Mahomes had a bad game because he was still throwing darts, still getting the ball to where it needed to be, but there was an absorbent amount of drops, and I think part of that is not playing in the preseason. Obviously, a huge part of that is not having Travis Kelce. And I think Danny Gray did a serviceable job coming in because the reality is Danny Gray as a tight end is a better blocking tight end than Travis Kelce. Obviously, he's not the same receiving threat. He can't move around, but he can run routes. And he did make plays when he needed to. He got a touchdown today and stuff like that as well. Their running game with Pacheco looked like running backs around the NFL that were free agents looked at the Chiefs and said, that is the reason why running backs should get paid. I think there's a real good chance. I don't know this, obviously. It would make a lot of sense from what we saw today, especially with those tackle issues they have, for them to go re-sign Kareem Hunt, bring Kareem Hunt back to the Chiefs or something like that. I hope they don't, obviously. I hope that they suffer into oblivion for the next 15 years or something like that as a Broncos fan. But the reality is they need to go get another running back, and they need to get their receivers on the same page and catching the balls. And I don't know. The Lions game plan I thought was great. I think there was definitely some errors, like some of the stuff that they did defensively in the beginning, I think they were running too much zone. I don't think their receivers are – so you don't have Travis Kelce and you don't have any good receivers that are like some standout. I thought they should have had them man up, been two safeties over, or even like having a safety over the middle, one over the top, and they should have played a little bit more man-to-man coverage because they didn't have anybody that could get loose. That was the only bad thing I'd say for the Lions. They could have played a little bit more man, and at the end of the game, when they started getting their stops, that's exactly what they did. I don't think the game would have been that close if they weren't giving Patrick Mahomes so much time in that zone, but I think they did end up their game plan prevailed. And the reality is Andy Reid, I don't know if he's ever came with a bad game plan. The execution was just atrocious.
Yeah, I'll piggyback off of what you're saying, Mike. I don't think that necessarily the game plans were bad. And I think outside of just a horrendous performance, right, it's kind of hard to have a bad game plan in week one because everybody's still trying to fill out everybody. There's no tape on anybody, right? There's no tape. We don't know what this year's teams look like. So your game plan is indicated by how well your team is able to execute. I think Detroit really, really enjoyed their game plan. It was very clear that they wanted to come out and they wanted to show everybody, hey, this is Detroit. We're going to be tough. We're going to be physical. We're going to come out and we're going to smack you in the mouth on both sides of the ball, and you're going to have to deal with us for 4 quarters. Not only that, we're going to put a chokehold on the time of possession that you have. We are going to strangle the clock. You guys are going to have to come out here and you're going to have to make big decisions, right? Because we want to let these offseason acquisitions that we made, your Cam Suttons, your CJ Gardner-Johnsons, we want y'all to go downfield because we believe in them more than you believe in your own receivers, and we want you to take big shots down the field. And that's how do we do that? By playing from the front and putting the chokehold on the time of possession for you guys, so that way you have to take these big risky shots. Not every quarterback in the league is Patrick Mahomes. We already know this, right? He's truly one of one. He's truly one of one. So there's a lot more quarterbacks that are closer to Kirk Cousins than there are quarterbacks closer to Mahomes. And that dink and dunk style of offense is not going to work against this team that is going to eat 7, 8, 9 minutes of clock with every single drive. So I love what Detroit is doing. I think, like I said, we talked about it several times. Once Jameson Williams comes back here, week 7, I think is his first game that he's eligible to come back.
Yeah.
Once he comes back, you mix this very potent run game that's going to soften up that the middle of that defense, right? Just body shot after body shot, and then you got to put the edges on the heels because they can't just come in on the quarterback, right? Because you got Jahmyr Gibbs who will take it outside on you in a heartbeat. So they have to maintain discipline and maintain possession. It's going to put these defensive fronts at a significant disadvantage. Now you add a legitimate number one over the top, that Jared Goff, who, say whatever you want to say about Jared. He throws a beautiful deep ball. If you give him enough time to do it, he'll get it there. So I think that could be a problem. Andy Reid, like Mike said, I don't think the man knows what a bad game plan is, right? Like, I really don't think he knows what a bad game plan is. It's just tonight wasn't Kansas City's night, right?
It was off too because Kelsey just banged up his knee the other day.
And it was definitely altered, but I saw a comment earlier where people were saying Chris Collinsworth kept referring to Travis Kelce, and he kept talking about Kelce this, Kelce that, and they said, if the receivers for Kansas City would have just caught the ball. But don't get me wrong, Chris Collinsworth, I personally find him annoying as well, but he's not wrong. The reason why he keeps bringing up Travis Kelce is because those plays where Kadarius Toney is getting targeted, right, and the stone hands are affecting him, those are 100% plays that's going to Travis Kelce in those situations. And I would bet you 9 times out of 10, he's catching every single one of those balls. So yes, the reason why he was brought up tonight, because he matters that much in this offense. He's the guy that when Patrick Mahomes is running around, going crazy, doing his best Michael Vick interpretation, right? That's the guy that always, for some reason, he's open. He's always open. And it kills me that these defenses, how long has Kelce been in the league? Like, it kills me that they still, like, the play breaks down and the first thing that their first instinct is leave Travis Kelce alone. What do you mean?
Yeah.
Go attach yourself to that man's hip. So yes, that's absolutely part of the difference in tonight's game plan. And I don't think Big Red changed the game plan, right? Because I think Andy Reid 100% believed in was Noah Gray? Is that the tight end that stepped in?
That is where I was about to talk about. Noah Gray had a run. It was a catch and then a run, right? Mm-hmm. So he caught the pass. Don't quote me on it. I think it was probably an 8-yard.
It was nasty. I know exactly what play you're talking about.
And then he gets another 7-8 yards on top of that. And this play was outstanding. I mean, it was violent. And this is why they drafted Noah Gray. I'm a Noah Gray fan. I'm like, damn. Again, all of us here in this room, for those who don't know, and if you're new to the channel, we're all NFL peers. Mm-hmm. We have our favorite team. Mike's diehard Broncos. My guy Soup over here is diehard Rams fan, and I'm, hey, Fins Nation. But man, I can't help. For somebody who played tight end in college, I can't help but appreciate a good tight end. The only thing I will say is that I feel like maybe there was, and again, we don't know. We're at the end of the day, we're just a couple guys in our basements recording. But I'll say this: I felt that there potentially could have been a different game plan for the Chiefs. And that they didn't start throwing more to the tight ends until after the second half. And it was just a little bit. I felt that, man, number one, they threw a touchdown to a tight end, Ben something, I forgot his name. And then of course there was the Noah Gray play. And I'm like, dude, if somebody makes a play like that, don't stop. Keep feeding them the ball, right? So, and this Chiefs team is talented, man. But when you're so talented, you got to find your flow, man. And again, this is year 2 and Tyreek Hill not being in that offense. Things don't need to take and fall apart. Now, they won the Super Bowl last year, and they're favored to win the Super Bowl again this year. But
they should be, by the way.
Figure stuff out for sure.
In that play that you're talking about, the big one for Noah Gray, this is one that I don't know what happened. I'm sorry. You guys are going to have to forgive me. Once again, I'm not a Lions fan, so I don't know your roster the way that I should be knowing your roster. But your rookie corner that made the pick six, give me his name one more time.
Brian Branch.
I'm going to learn him because
he's a safety slot. He's a safety in the slot corner.
Yeah. So I've never seen a player wear their mouthpiece like an antenna in their helmet. So that's new. That's new. But 2, on that play, it was the play that he pulled up on. But I don't know. It's just me being facetious, right? I don't know if he really pulled up so much as he made a business decision. He didn't want to go hit that tight end. He didn't want to go hit Noah Gray, because the reason why he was able to, he gets contacted by the linebacker. Noah Gray gets contacted by the linebacker, and he's shaking him off. Branch has a clear shot to put another hit on him to help bring him to the ground, and you see him go left. You see him go left outside of him, and immediately after that, he's on the ground. I didn't really see him pull up after that. I think that was one of those things, you made a business decision. You know you made a business decision, and you ain't trying to have coach talk to you about it in the film room. So now I'm hurt. I'm on the field. I'm on the ground.
No, that man cramped up because that dude,
I cramp up too if I didn't want to go tackle that big ass tight end. If I made a business decision, I cramp up too.
Played so physical at Bama, yeah. I can't even do that to him. But what does make it hard, Doug, is when you get Sky Moore 3 targets. I'm looking at it right now: 3 targets, 0 catches, 0 yards. Kadarius Toney 5 catches, 1 catch for 1 yard, and probably 4 drops. Justin Ross had 1 catch. I mean, Patrick Mahomes was 53%, and it wasn't his fault. It was because of an overwhelming amount of drops and a hell of a play on the interception. So,
Patrick Mahomes, like you know, you're having trouble when Patrick Mahomes is your leading rusher. Like, there's an issue. There's an issue.
Moya asked the question. Let me give him the answer real quick. Hold on a second.
Moya, you unlocked the beast, man.
Yeah, he's a Broncos.
He's about to come with the fit, man.
Yeah.
I'm a Broncos
He's
fan.
A Broncos fan. He's
I'm
a
gonna be club level
fan.
this weekend, Broncos versus Raiders. So
there you go.
My man. I love it. Folks, as we wrap up this show tonight, this has been a fun show. I think we've had 200 people pop up in here, man. It's a lot of fun. I want to thank everybody. Comment below. Let me know your thoughts on tonight's game. A lot of you guys already did. We love doing this, guys. We do this 2 to 4 times a week. I encourage everyone to smash the subscribe button, but also as well, if you like, hit the bell for the alerts. When you get that bell, that's just going to let you know when the episodes come out. We ain't going to spam you or nothing like that. Also as well, hit the like as well, too. That takes and lets the algorithm know that you like tonight's show. And then also as well, if you would like to donate, not that you ever have to, feel free. All that information, Zelle, Cash App, if you want to give a super thanks, anything always helps. I'm always looking on getting new lighting and all that good stuff. So, but man, we definitely appreciate everybody tuning in, man. Shout out to Moya TV, shout out to Nathan, man. Shout out to King Hooley, everybody who tuned in tonight. Michael Mahaski. Appreciate all you guys, man. Thank you so much.
We really appreciate the engagement, y'all. Like I said, boys, I don't know about y'all, but I'm happy. Football is back. Football is back. I'm very much looking forward to some more competitive games this season, because I don't know about how y'all are about y'all team. I know how I am about my team. This is the part of the year where my mood for the week is dictated by what happens on Monday nights, Thursday nights, and Sunday nights when my team is playing. So I had to go and give my wife the temporary divorce papers this morning and say, hey, I love you. It's been a great 17 years. But you know what time it is. This isn't goodbye. It's see you later. And by that, I mean, you can catch me in March. But I gotta go.
I was telling my wife today, I'm like, babe, tonight, look, I watch our show together, but afterwards, I'm gonna watch some football. And then this Sunday, when the Dolphins play the Chargers, I live in Texas, I'm gonna be tuned in.
You're a better man than me. I couldn't even look my wife in the eye and lie to her in her face like that and say, baby, I'm gonna come and watch the show with you, because I'm not. I'm all football. I'm all football all the time right now. I mean, obviously, I'm gonna do my anime, and I put this stuff back here for you guys because
love that background, bro.
You guys are gonna jump in the comments and say I don't know anything about football, and you're absolutely right. I don't. That's why I don't have nothing football to do in the background. So you're right. I don't.
It's not true.
No.
Crazy. Well, thank you guys so much, man. We're gonna go. Oh, hold on. We got a Vikings fan. As a Vikings fan, I was rooting for the Chiefs. But then I turned, go Lions, Kitties, go Roar.
Hey, Nathan, let me tell you, my pops is in town right now. He's visiting me. He is a lifelong Vikings fan. So to see him cheering that the Lions won, that should tell you how a lot of people feel about the Chiefs.
Chiefs turn to the Patriots. The Chiefs turn
real
to
quick.
Hey, real quick, I want to say, Nate, check out our interview with Brian Asamoah. I think it was me and Mike were on that. He's a middle linebacker or edge rusher for the Minnesota Vikings. He has been on this show before. If you just type in Brian Asamoah interview, touchdown Doug Smith, it should pop up. Or if you go in the interview section of our videos, we had him, and then we also had the wide receiver you guys drafted last year from Michigan. He's been on I'm having a brain fart right now. He's been on this show as well too, man. So had a few Viking guys even from this year's camp, but they got cut. So yeah, check out some of those interviews, man. Lots and lots and lots of fun. But love you guys, Touchdown Nation. You guys are amazing. We really, really appreciate you guys. God bless y'all. Have an awesome night. More live shows coming this weekend. More content on the way. Again, y'all hear to my voice. I don't talk as deep and sexy, but I got COVID-19 right now. Something's wrong with me. I on tons of medication, but had to drop an episode for y'all. And Adrian Campbell and Michael Williams, thank you guys so much for coming on the show as well too. Appreciate y'all, boys.
Always glad to be on here with y'all fellas, man.
Yes, sir, man. Catch y'all, man, on the next one. Peace.